Welcome to Janitor Safety, Biological Hazards. Tasks that the janitors may perform will be reviewed. A discussion of biological hazards that janitors face, what pathogens are and what kind of diseases they cause, how you may be exposed, what to do if you are exposed, and methods for preventing exposure in your job. Part 1. Pathogens explained as related to janitorial work. Here we can see the four main groups of microorganisms: viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. As you can see, viruses are very small packages of genetic material which living hosts need to reproduce, whereas bacteria are one-celled living organisms. Fungi are decomposing plants that absorb organic materials in the way which they grow, and parasites are plants or animals that live upon or within other living hosts. Here we can see the various types of microorganisms and what they cause: viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. Infected people sneeze or cough and spread the pathogen through the air to others when inhalation is used as a transmittal of disease. Transmittal disease, Part 2. Infected person doesn't wash their hands properly, handles or prepares food and water, and contaminates it. Transmittal of disease, Part 3. An infected person transmits pathogens to a route that involves a blood or mucous membrane or perhaps sexual contact. Here we can see the types of bloodborne pathogens explained: hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C, HCV, or immunodeficiency virus C, HIV. Bloodborne pathogens can enter your body through a break in the skin, mucous membranes, or other modes. The pathogens involved, the type of route or exposure explained. The amount of virus in infected blood at the time of exposure, the amount of infected blood involved in the exposure. The risk of infection depends upon other factors as well. Methods for controlling bloodborne pathogen exposures include immediately flooding the exposed area with water and cleaning any wound with soap and water or skin disinfectant if available, reporting it immediately to your employer, and immediately seeking medical attention. Bloodborne pathogens entry into the body includes the amount of infected blood involved in the exposure, whether post-exposure treatment was taken place, or specific immune responses to the infected individual. Preventing BBP, universal precautions. Treat all blood or potentially infectious material with appropriate precautions, such as using gloves, masks, and gowns, using engineering or work practice controls to limit exposure. Anticipated skin, eye, and mucous membranes and parental contact with blood or other potentially infectious material may result in the performance of an employee's duties. An exposure incident is a specific contact with blood or potentially infectious material that is capable of transmitting bloodborne diseases. Employers must provide readily accessible hand washing facilities. Ensure that employees wash their hands in any other area that need to be. Ensure that employees flush mucous membranes with water as soon as feasible after contact with blood or potentially infectious material. Protective clothing must be removed before leaving the room. Dispose of in an appropriate designated area. or storage for washing or decontamination. Remember, protective clothing must be removed before leaving the room, left in a designated area or container for storage, washing, or decontamination, or disposal. Cleaning and decontamination of affected areas. The terms first must have the determination and implement a written schedule for cleaning, as well as methods of decontamination. The written schedule must be based on the location within the facility, the types of surfaces to be cleaned, the type of soil present, and the tasks or procedures to be performed in the area. Use appropriate approved disinfectants as determined by the EPA. Fresh solutions of diluted household bleach made up every 24 hours are considered appropriate for disinfectant. All equipment and environmental working surfaces should be cleaned and decontaminated after being contaminated by OPIM. Cleaning and decontamination of affected areas includes all bins, pails, cans, and similar receptacles intended for reuse which may have become contaminated. They need to be cleaned and decontaminated immediately as soon as feasible upon the visible contamination, as well as inspected and decontaminated on a regularly scheduled basis. Reusable sharps containers must not be opened, emptied, devices cleaned manually or in other manners that would be exposed to employees to the risk of percutaneous injury. Bagging and handling of contaminated laundry with a minimal amount of agitation at the location where it was used. Contaminated laundry shall not be sorted or rinsed in the location of use, and must be transported to the laundry for decontamination bags or containers labeled or color-coded. When universal precautions are used in the handling of soiled laundry, using alternative labeling or color coding is sufficient if it permits all employees to recognize the containers requiring compliance with universal precautions. Other recommended good practices are melt away bags that can be thrown directly into the washers without having to unload, or remove contaminated laundry from bags. Rinsing soiled laundry in the utility rooms is acceptable if it is not contaminated with blood or OPIM, or does not contain sharps. Do not hold contaminated laundry bags close to the body or squeeze when transporting. Part 4. Summary of janitorial hazards. Additional help beyond what has been discussed here is available at the OSHA Hospital eTools at www.osha.gov. Biological hazards are expressed in the workplace in the form of bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. An infected person transmits pathogens through a route that involves blood, mucus, through the air, or sexual contact. The first step in preventing disease is to keep the organism from entering the body. Immediately flood the exposed area with water and clean any wound with soap and water or skin disinfectant if available. Determine and implement an appropriate written schedule for cleaning and methods of decontamination.